Day the Royal Academy screening results came out, the twin alpha hairs, Julian and Damien, stood in front of me.
Have you decided whose name you're putting on that form?
Each of them was holding an application form. In my previous life, I chose Julian for love.
I choose you.
I gave up my direct admission to the Royal Academy and stayed behind in the pack with Celeste, his childhood friend Omega, who'd failed the screening, to help him train for another year. I thought that was what it meant to go through hardship together. That was love.
Ivy, I'm so glad I have you with me.
But the pack laughed at Soletta, an Omega who thought she could get into the combat track at the Royal Academy. She couldn't stand the gossip, ran off alone, and was killed by rogue wolves. Julian threw me into the silver pit, the pit our pack used to execute traitors.
If you hadn't been so desperate to cling to me, I could have focused on protecting Celeste. She wouldn't be dead! Ivy Hale, all of this is your fault. You ruined us!
Silver burns a wolf's flesh like acid. He poured silver down my throat. I died thraggling in agony. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day the screening results were announced. This time, I slipped my arm through Damien's and gave the brightest smile I had. Let's apply to the Royal Academy together. Julian let out a quiet, relieved breath and turned to go find his Omega. He didn't see the way Damien's hand tightened around mine.
You're mine.
Or the obsession and ambition he couldn't quite hide behind his eyes.
Are you really going to stoop to fighting an Omega that fragile for attention? Ivy, this whole playing hard to get routine is pathetic. You think picking Damien, that useless nothing of a brother, is going to force me to give up Celeste?
He strode up to me.
Celeste didn't pass the screening. She's falling apart right now. You're a warrior. Are you really going to stoop to fighting an Omega that fragile for attention?
The burning pain of the silver pit from my previous life still lived in my skin. I could still see Julia's face at the edge of that pit. No hesitation, no pity, just annoyance. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. Think whatever you want. I just tightened my grip on Damien's arm a little more. Julian's eyes flicked down to my hand on Damien. For a second, I saw the rage and jealousy there.
Remember this. The Luna position is yours. That's enough.
Then he pulled a mint out of his pocket. I always ate these when I was nervous. He grabbed my hand, pressed the candy into my palm, and his voice softened.
Eat it. You always want one when you're nervous. Let me help Celeste through this year of training. Then I'll take you up north for a holiday. Stop making a scene.
I lowered my eyes and looked at the mint in my hand. In my previous life, it was exactly these little gestures, the slap then the sweet, that fooled me into thinking he actually cared.
The older brother, Julian, was a natural-born alpha.
I raised my hand, and right in front of him, I dropped the mint on the ground. Julian's face went white with rage. He stared at me, jaw clenched.
Ivy, enough. How much longer are you going to drag this out?
Damien, silent the whole time, suddenly laughed. He caught my wrist and pulled me back against his chest.
Julian, are you deaf or do you just not speak human?
Damien's voice was rough and his eyes were ice.
Ivy said it. She's going to the Royal Academy with me. She picked me as her mate.
Julian scoffed like he'd heard the joke of the century.
Damien, you can't even fully shift into your wolf form. You think you get to pick up my leftovers?
Worthless. That was the label that had followed Damien since he was a child. 18 years ago, at the twins' naming ceremony, the pack's old witch had declared in front of everyone,
"The younger brother, Damien, was born weak, his bloodline failing.
The older brother, Julian, was a natural-born alpha."
My husband is under my protection from now on. You don't get to talk about him behind his back or to his face. Julian was taken aback for a moment, then a knowing look crossed his face, as if he already had the outcome in hand.
Ivy, the application closes tomorrow at sunset. I'm giving you one night to cool off.
Just then, from behind one of the garden columns came a delicate, tearful whimper. Celeste was standing there in a little white dress, eyes rimmed red.
Julian, did I make Ivy upset again? I'm sorry, it's my fault. I'm just so weak. I couldn't even pass the screening. I'll go, I don't want to be a burden.
She covered her face and made to run off. Julian's expression snapped. He shot me a vicious look.
If anything happens to Celeste, that's on you.
He turned and went after her at a run, leaving only his retreating back. On his way out, he stepped right on that mint. He didn't even look. In my previous life, that exact view of his back broke my heart for a full year. This time it just seemed absurd.
If you're upset, I can have him tied up and brought back to you.
What? This time, I only want you. A strong arm tightened around my waist. Damien's warm thumb was rubbing circles into my side, harder than it needed to be. He rested his chin in the cruff of my neck. His breath was hot against my ear.
Ivy, what you said just now about going to the Royal Academy with me, was it real? Or were you just trying to piss him off?
I turned my head and met the obsession and possessiveness in his eyes. I reached up and gently smoothed the crease between his brows. Of course it was real. This time, I only want you. Something dark flittered in Damien's eyes. He stared at me for a long moment, then leaned down and bit my earlobe.
Good.
You said it. Remember that. If you lie to me, Ivy, I'll drag you down to hell with me.
The edge in his voice sent a shiver through me, but I smiled anyway. Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, we'll go submit our application at the admission center. See you there.
Can't we just stay together forever?
I snatched the teacup from Serafina's hand. See you tomorrow. The next morning, I'd just finished washing up and walked out of my room and found the living room full of people. My mother, the Luna of the Thorn Pack, Julian's mother, Serafina, and Celeste, with swollen, red-rimmed eyes. Julian was lounging in an armchair.
Ivy, you're up. Come sit.
Serafina spoke first. I walked over and sat in the farthest chair from them. Luna Sefafina, something you need this early? Serafina took a sip of her tea. There was a kind of charity in her gaze.
It's like this, Ivy. Celeste didn't do well in the screening. Her combat score came up short. She didn't make the cutoff. We were thinking, you still hold a direct admission slot to the Royal Academy, don't you?
I narrowed my eyes. Celeste's mother and mine both served the Thorns.
My direct admission came from clearing rogues on the border. I still carry 3 scars from it. It runs across my collarbone, left by an alpha rank rogue. That wolf nearly tore my artery open. With that admission slot, getting into the Royal Academy was already a done deal for me. I never imagined anyone could be so shameless as to try and trade a few sweet words for the admission slot I'd fought for with my life. I'm good friends with your mother. Besides, you don't really need that admission slot anyway. Just give it to Celeste.
I snatched the teacup from Serafina's hand and threw its contents all over her. Wake up!
Ivy, please help me!
In my previous life, I sat right here, and they took turns working me over with guilt. In the end, to prove my love for Julian, I gave the slot to Celeste. Celeste used it to walk into the academy and climbed her way up by attaching herself to high-ranking alphas. And I stayed behind in the pack house to train with Julian, who finally shoved me into the silver pit. I let out a cold laugh. Impossible. Celeste's tears fell instantly. She dropped to her knees in front of me and clutched at the leg of my pants.
Ivy, please help me! Everyone in the pack is laughing at me. If I don't get into the academy, my father's a gambler. He'll sell me to rogues to pay off his debts. You're such a strong fighter. Even without the slot, you could retake the screening and still pass. But I'm not you. This slot is my only way out.
Her tears just kept coming. My mother softened at the sight and rushed over to help her up.
Ivy, please, help Celeste. You two grew up together. When did you become so heartless?
I looked at my mother. Mom, are you going to help them take what's mine too?
Ivy.
That slot nearly cost me my life. You know how I got these scars? What makes her 2 rounds of crying worth more than that?
I tugged my collar down and showed her the jagged scar across my collarbone. My mother's face stiffened for a second. Then she looked away. Serafina's expression went cold.
Ivy, that's not how you talk. Once you form the mate bond with Julian, you'll be the Luna of this pack. Isn't protecting the pack's rings exactly a Luna's duty?
The sheer audacity of it made me laugh. Who said I was forming a mate bond with Julian? The room went dead silent. Julian, in his chair, tugged at his collar. There was a flicker of irritation in his eyes.
Ivy, are you still sulking about yesterday?
He stood up and came over.
I told you. Celeste is unstable right now. She can't take any more. The Thorn Pack has already pulled the right strings. All you have to do today is go to the admissions center, stand in front of the administrator, voluntarily give up your direct admission, and sign a transfer statement. Then we can have Celeste take your combat record and enter in your place. Just think of it as a good deed. Once we're at the academy, I'll formally announce your status as Luna candidate to everyone. Isn't that enough?
I looked at him and felt my stomach turn. Julian, have you lost your mind?
Dragging Damien into this, that was meant to me jealous, wasn't it?
If you feel so sorry for her, why don't you stay behind and train with her yourself? Using my future to fund your devotion. What kind of alpha heir does that make you? Julian's face changed. He grabbed my wrist hard.
Ivy, watch your mouth.
He dropped his voice. It had gone icy.
Don't think I don't know what you're playing at.
Dragging Damien into this, that was meant to make me jealous, wasn't it? I'm telling you to stop. Push me too far, and you won't even get to be Luna.
I yanked my wrist out of his grip. It was already ringed in red. The Luna position? Save it for your precious little Celesta. I turned and walked toward the door. I don't want it. Celesta burst into louder sobs behind me. Julian's furious roar echoed through the room.
Ivy! Walk out that door today, and don't expect me to speak to you again!
He turned to look at my mother again.
Madam, are you really going to let your daughter behave this way?
My mother was caught in a dilemma. Just then, a deep voice came from the doorway.
Why should my fiancé have to speak to you?
The front door slowly swung open. Damien stood there in a black trench coat. Sunlight poured in behind him, framing him in a halo of gold. The entire living room fell silent. Julian's face darkened.
Damien?
Even Serafina froze.
What are you doing here?
Damien didn't spare either of them a glance. He walked straight to my side, naturally taking my hand in his.
I came to pick up my fiancé.
A smile curved my lips. You came at the perfect time. Our fingers intertwined. Everyone else's expressions changed instantly. Julian's eyes turned bloodshot. He took a furious step toward us.
Let go of her!
Then he whipped around to glare at me.
Happy now?
Celeste's eyes reddened at once. She pressed a hand to her chest and spoke in a trembling voice. Ivy, I know you hate me, but why would you drag Damien into this just to put on a show? Julian's already hurting enough. The more she spoke, the harder she cried. Will you only be satisfied if I die? With that, she suddenly stumbled sideways as though she were about to collapse.
Celeste!
Julian lunged forward and caught her in his arms. Then he whipped around to glare at me.
Ivy! Happy now? You've pushed her this far. Is this what you wanted?
I couldn't even be bothered to explain. She's acting. Julian let out a cold laugh.
Acting?
Ivy. With tears streaming down her face, Celeste slowly got to her feet. She walked toward me, one shaky step at a time. Ivy, if beating me will make you feel better, then go ahead. As she spoke, she reached for my hand, but the instant she got close, a flash of silver shot from her sleeve. A thin needle stabbed straight toward my wrist. My pupils contracted. Years of combat took over before I could think. I struck back with one clean palm. Celeste flew backward. She slammed onto the floor. A streak of blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. The living room fell deathly silent. My mother covered her mouth in shock. Ivy.
She's just an Omega. How could you hit her that hard?
Celeste clutched her chest and burst into tears. I'm sorry. It's all my fault, Ivy. I only wanted to apologize. Why did you have to hit me? She cried so pitifully that anyone watching would think she'd been terribly wronged. Julian rushed over and pulled her into his arms. Then he glared at me.
Ivy. She's just an Omega. How could you hit her that hard?
I met his gaze without emotion. She attacked me first. Celeste shook her head desperately. No. I just wanted to hold your hand. Is this because of the Royal Academy recommendation? Have you hated me this whole time? If you really can't bear to give it up, then I don't want it anymore. Tears rolled endlessly down her cheeks. Julian only thought you're strong enough to pass the screening again, even without it. He was only trying to help me. Why do you always assume the worst about us? With a few tearful words, she shifted everyone's attention back to the recommendation. Julian looked at me with open contempt once again. Thank you so much for not blaming me. Julian's expression turned completely cold. He slowly rose to his feet and looked down at me.
Did you hear that? Celeste would rather give up the recommendation than blame you. And you hit an Omega. Ivy, apologize.
I laughed. You want me to apologize?
That is right.
Julian's voice was icy.
Otherwise, this doesn't end today.
Celeste immediately shook her head through her tears.
Julian, forget it. As long as Ivy gives me the Royal Academy recommendation, I won't blame her.
I couldn't help applauding her flawless performance. Wow. How generous of you. Thank you so much for not blaming me. Now, do you still want me to apologize? I walked toward Celesta one slow step at a time. Stopping right in front of her, I suddenly reached for her hand. Everyone thought I was finally giving in. Instead, I grabbed her wrist and twisted it lightly. A silver needle slipped from her sleeve and hit the floor. Every face in the room changed. I bent down, picked up the needle, and held it up. So, now do you still want me to apologize? Celeste's face drained of color.
I don't know where that came from. It isn't mine.
I let out a cold laugh. The tip is coated with a paralytic powder. It's designed specifically for ambushing warriors. If my instincts had been even a fraction slower,
I'd be the one lying on the floor right now.
Julian froze. For the first time, he had nothing to say.
Enough!
Damien calmly stepped forward. He took the silver needle from my hand. He merely lifted it to his nose and gave it a faint sniff.
Northern shadowweed toxin. 300 gold coins per gram on the black market. Not something an ordinary person can buy.
He slowly raised his eyes. His icy gaze settled on Celeste.
It seems you prepared quite thoroughly, just to steal Ivy's Royal Academy recommendation.
Celeste's face turned ghostly pale.
No, it wasn't me.
Julian immediately stepped in front of her.
Enough! Even if it was her, she was only terrified of losing her chance to enter the Royal Academy. Ivy isn't even hurt!
Damien smiled. The temperature in the room seemed to drop with it.
So, as long as she failed, that makes it innocent?
He took my hand and gently pulled me behind him. Then his freezing gaze swept across everyone present.
From this moment on, anyone who dares covet my fiancé's Royal Academy recommendation will lose far more than a single admission slot.
What's wrong? The admissions center hall. I sat at the verification desk and slid my wrist into the scanner.
The scanner would draw a single drop of my blood and match it against the blood seal on record with Royal Academy Central. The Royal Academy's biometric lock, keyed to a single applicant. A match would finalize my application.
Damien sat next to me, flipping a coin between his fingers, looking bored. But I knew his attention hadn't left my screen. The scanner hummed and lit up blue. Then a line of red text flashed across the screen.
Authentication failed. This blood seal was already used at 2 a.m. today. Each applicant's blood seal may only be used once.
My brow tightened. I put my finger back in. Same message. My stomach dropped. What's wrong? Damien stopped flipping the coin and leaned in to read the screen.
Your blood seal's already been used?
I bit my lip. My fingers were trembling a little. That's not possible. Only I can activate my blood seal. Unless someone had gotten hold of my blood. Damien's eyes went dark. My heart sank. 3 days ago, Julian had taken me to a checkup. He said he was worried about my health. In my previous life, I didn't suspect a thing. That was when he got it. I stood up so fast, the chair scraped.
It was Julian. He stole my blood sample.
Damien pulled me gently back down by the wrist.
Easy. If he pulled a stunt like this, he's gonna come to you.
Right on cue, my phone buzzed. Julian's name on the screen. I took a breath and answered. Julian's lazy voice came through.
Ivy, you at the admission center? Authentication failed, huh? Panicking a little?
I gripped the phone. My nails bit into my palm. Julian, what do you want? He laughed.
I told you.
Celeste is getting that slot.
Here's what's gonna happen.
You go home right now, stand in front of the administrator,
Voluntarily give up your direct admission,
and publicly announce that Celeste is taking over your combat record.
then I'll unlock your blood seal
You can resubmit tonight.
through the retake channel. Otherwise,
The application closes tomorrow at sunset, and you're staying behind to train for a year.
He used the gentlest voice to deliver the cruelest threat.
Julian, this is a crime!
I was shaking.
a crime?
He laughed under his breath.
So report me.
Who do you think the elders will believe? Some hysterical little warrior?
Or the Thorn Pack Alpha Hare. Ivy, stop struggling. You can't win this.
Be a good girl.
Tonight I'll take you to that steakhouse you love.
The slap and sugar routine. He'd refined it to an art. I closed my eyes. I was fighting the urge to reach through the phone and strangle him.
And if I don't?
2 seconds of silence on the other end. Then Celeste's voice.
Julianne, who are you on the phone with? My ice cream's melting.
Julian's tone went instantly soft.
Coming.
Then cold again, for me.
Ivy, my patience has limits. Tonight, 8 o'clock, the steakhouse, my usual seat. I won't wait.
He hung up. The dial tone droned in my ear. I let the phone drop into my lap. My eyes were stinging, not because I was upset, because that feeling of having your agency ripped away from you was suffocating. A warm, heavy hand came to rest on my head. It ruffled my hair gently.
What are you crying for?
Damien's voice was low and rough with a strange, steadying pull to it. He turned my chair so I was facing him. His mouth lifted at the corner. He pulled a card from the inside of his jacket. The card was pure black, no text, just one small mark. A winged wolf carrying a crescent moon in its jaws. The personal seal of the Alpha King, the supreme ruler of all werewolf packs. In the entire werewolf world, fewer than 10 people were allowed to carry that card. He pressed it to the scanner. The blue light flashed gold. Identity confirmed. Green channel activated. Applicant, Ivy Hale. Authentication bypassed. Application submitted. Admission status, approved by the Alpha King's Royal Academy.
I stared. I looked up at him.
Damien, how did you do that?
He looked down at me, smiling lazily.
Give me 10 minutes. I'm going to turn Julian's application into scrap paper. Consider this your compensation. Latest moonstone necklace.
8 that evening. The steakhouse. I pushed the door open and walked in. Julian was sitting at the head of the long table, cutting into a plate of venison, hunted after the last patrol. Celeste sat beside him, sipping from a bowl of broth. When he saw me come in, Julian didn't even lift his eyes.
5 minutes late.
He set down his knife and fork and dabbed his mouth with his napkin.
But seeing as you've finally come to your senses, I'll forgive the rudeness.
He snapped his fingers. A servant immediately brought out a plate of roast lamb chops, my favorite.
Eat. When you're done, we'll go to the admissions center and you'll hand over the slot. Once that's done, I'll release the lock on your blood seal.
He slid a pre-printed transfer statement across the table. Next to it, a jewelry box.
Consider this your compensation. Latest moonstone necklace. You've been eyeing it for a while, haven't you?
He leaned back, hands folded across his stomach, pure confidence in every line of his face. He thought the game was over. He thought I'd fold in the end, just like last life. I didn't look at the necklace. I didn't look at the transfer statement. I pulled out a chair, sat down, and looked at him steadily. Julian, do you actually think you're some kind of saint?
Ivy! Watch yourself!
Gutting your future Luna's career to protect a little Omega bitch? Is that what you call devotion? You're just a goddamn fool. Celeste went red around the eyes the moment she heard Omega bitch. Ivy, how can you say that about me? I never wanted to take anything from you. Julian's just being kind. Shut up. I cut her off, cold. Nobody asked you. Julian's face darkened instantly. He slammed the table. The wine in the glasses shivered.
Ivy! Watch yourself! I'm giving you a way out because of what we used to have!
You really think I can't live without you?
That slot, you're handing it over tonight, whether you want to or not! Otherwise you'll never set foot in the Royal Academy for the rest of your life!
He stood up and jabbed a finger at me. I watched him lose it, and then I laughed. A bitter, mocking smile. Julian Thorne, don't you think a little too high of yourself? I pulled out my phone and opened an email, then turned the screen around and slid it across to him. Read that. Julian gave the screen a contemptuous glance, and then his whole face frozen. Julian's wine glass slammed down on the table. It was an admission notice from Royal Academy Central. Crystal clear. Applicant. Ivy Hole. Admission status. Approved. Track assignment. Tactical command. Top ranking candidate. And just below my name, another entry. Applicant. Damien Thorne. Admission status. Approved. Track assignment. Classified. By direct selection of the Alpha King, the word classified was printed in gold. In the entire werewolf world, only one kind of result printed in gold. The Alpha King's personal pick. Julian's wine glass slammed down on the table. The base cracked. Wine bled out of the fracture across his hand. His face twisted with fury. His eyes were bloodshot.
This is impossible! And Damien, there is no way he's the Alpha King's pick!
He grabbed my phone like a man possessed, staring at the text.
I used your blood. I completed the authentication before you did. There is no way you got through! And Damien, there is no way he's the Alpha King's pick!
I stood up and smoothed the wrinkles from my clothes. I looked down at the state of him. Surprised? You thought you had everything under control? You're just a clown. I leaned in toward his ear, and I said it slowly, word by word. Damien was never the useless nothing you all thought he was. That prophecy from years ago was a lie. The weak little brother you kept mocking, he's been the Alpha King's personal protege for years. All your forms were left blank.
You watched him fumble around training, goof off. You never knew that every time he disappeared, the Alpha King was the one calling him away. He didn't just get me around the blood seal. He took a look at the application records while he was at it. At yours. Want to guess what he found?
Julian's pupils shrank. He lunged and grabbed me by the collar.
What did he find? What did you do?
His voice cracked with panic. I pulled his hands off and wiped the spot he'd touched like it disgusted me.
Nothing much. Just that while you were so busy staying behind to train with Celeste, you didn't apply to the Royal Academy. And you didn't apply to any of the backup academies either.
All your forms were left blank. His face went the color of bone. My smile widened. Julian, you're so very devoted. So stay. Stay in the pack and train. He looked like he'd been struck by lightning. He staggered back and knocked over the chair behind him.
No, that can't be.
He yanked his phone out with shaking hands and jabbed at the screen, trying to log into his application account. No matter what he did, it kept flashing. Account locked.
Damien! This is Damien's doing!
He flung the phone against the wall. It shattered. Celeste huddled into the corner, shaking. She didn't even dare sob.
Ivy! You set me up!
Julian's eyes were bloodshot. He lunged at me, his hand came up to strike. In the split second before it landed, someone kicked the dining hall door open from the outside.
Damien, you dare hit me!
The slam of it shook the room. Damien walked in. He caught Julian's raise. Damien looked down at him. His eyes had gone glacial.
Touch her again. Try it.
His foot and kicked the back of Julian's knee. Julian went down with a muffled grunt flat on the floor.
Damien, you dare hit me!
Julian struggled to get up. Damien pinned the back of his neck and held him there. Damien's laugh was soft and dangerous.
What about it? Julian, you've played air for so long. You actually think you're untouchable?
You want to fight? We go down together.
He crouched down and patted Julian's cold, sweating cheek.
You thought you could control Ivy by stealing her blood?
Damien's eyes turned dark and cruel.
You thought you'd move heaven and earth by leaving your applications blank. Father passed a new rule at the Elder Council last night. Whoever gets into the Royal Academy becomes the sole heir of the Thorn Pack. You were too busy buying Celeste her dessert to show up. So of course you don't know. Father has completely writ you off. Also, Julian, don't even think about reporting me for touching the application system.
Damien's voice dropped. There was pleasure in it now.
I already handed the evidence to Father and the Elder Council. Evidence that you siphoned silver from the Thorn War Reserve to buy Celeste that rare moonstone jewelry.
You want to fight? We go down together.
You're not just a failed applicant now.
Julian's body locked up. The War Reserve was the fund that paid for the Pack's defense against black market traders and rogues. Siphoning from it was a death sentence offense in any pack. He lifted his head, unable to believe it, and stared at Damien.
What did you just say?
Damien straightened up and adjusted his cuff.
A pity, Julian. You're not just a failed applicant now. You're a piece of garbage the family has completely discarded.
He turned his head toward Celeste, curled up in the corner. His mouth curled.
As for Celeste, want to guess whether she'll stand by you through thick and din once she finds out you have nothing?
Celeste's face drained white. She stared at Julian on the floor, and I watched disgust flicker across her face. Julian? Is it true? You really didn't pass? You really lost your inheritance rights? Julian bit down on his teeth. The veins stood out on his forehead. He was trying, in front of Celeste, to hold on to the last shred of his dignity.
Celeste, don't listen to him. Even if I stay and train another year, I'm a strong fighter. I'll pass next year. I'll take the inheritance back.
I'll protect you. Trust me.
He reached for the hem of her dress. Celeste took a big step back. She pulled out of reach. Don't touch me! She screamed. There was nothing fragile left in her voice now.
Julian, have you lost your mind? You want to train? Fine. Why does that mean I have to suffer with you? Do you know how the pack laughs at Omegas like me? I've been clawing my way up, trying to become Luna, and now you want me to stay another year?
Fat tears rolled down her face.
I'm not training again! My gambler of a father will sell me to rogues!
Then she wheeled around and threw herself at Damien.
Damien, please help me! You got Ivy through the blood seal. You can open a green channel for me too, can't you? If you get me into the academy, I'll do anything you say. Anything!
She reached out to grab his arm, her eyes pleading, and a button had at some point come undone at her collar. Damien stepped sideways, cold-faced. Celeste fell on empty air and hit the floor.
Get away.
Damien's eyes were ice.
Don't touch me with those filthy hands. You disgust me.
From the floor, Julian watched the Omega he'd fought the world to protect, degrading herself for another man. Something inside him caved in.
Celeste, what did you just say?
His voice was shaking.
You'll do anything he says.
Celeste stood up and looked down at him, cold. Julian, don't call me heartless. You can't even protect yourself right now. What are you going to protect me with? All I want is a way out. You can't give me one, so get out of my way! She turned and ran out of the hall without looking back, her heels clicking down the corridor, fading. Those shoes were custom made. Julian had paid for them yesterday. One pair was worth half a year's wages for a regular warrior. The hall went silent. Only Julian's ragged breathing filled the air. Slowly, he lifted his head and looked at me. His eyes were bloodshot.
Ivy.
His voice cracked. There was the faintest plea in it.
You were just angry at me, right? You didn't really leave me. You're just upset. Just send Damien away right now. I swear, I'll never touch Celeste again. We'll go back to how we were, please.
His tone was exactly the same as last life. In my previous life, this was how he reeled me back in. Again and again. He'd play pitiful. He'd cry. He'd promise never again. Then he'd turn around and go walk through fire for Celeste. He never actually had me in his heart. He just didn't want to lose someone who'd love him without conditions. I looked down at him, groveling in the dirt, and I just felt sorry for him, in the saddest possible way. Julian, the game is over. I tucked my arm through Damien's and gave him one last look. In my previous life, you owed me my life. This time you pay with your future and your inheritance. We're even. I didn't give him a chance to speak again. I turned and walked out with Damien.
At the doorway, I looked back one last time. Julian was still kneeling there. The boy I'd once loved. He was never real. I'd invented him. I turned my head and didn't look again.
The news went through the pack faster than I'd expected. The pride of the Thorn Pack, heir Julian, gave up the Royal Academy for an Omega and chose, of his own free will, to stay behind and train for a year.
The entire werewolf world lit up. Overnight, the formidable alpha heir of the Thorn Pack became everybody's new favorite joke, and I, the ordinary warrior who'd clawed her way to a Royal Academy admission with combat service, became the talk of the Thorn family. The strongest she-wolf.
The current Thorn Pack Alpha, Julian, and Damien's father, flew back from his European council overnight. He was so furious he pulled the silver whip off the wall and beat Julian until his skin split open.
It was the first time anyone in the pack had ever seen Julian's.
How did I end up with a son this worthless? For an Omega! For an Omega, you touched the war reserve! You've dragged the Thorn Pack's name through the mud!
They all knew. Julian had crossed the Alpha's line. He had lost the right to inherit the Thorn Pack. And Damien, the second son they'd overlooked his whole life. The younger brother, born weak, mocked by the pack since childhood, was now walking around with an Alpha King's pick admission in hand. Overnight, he was the family's only hope, the only heir.
That afternoon, I was in the side courtyard packing. Damien and I were leaving for the Royal Academy up north the next morning. The gate crashed open. Julian, burning under the afternoon sun, staggered in. He looked thinner by several pounds. His eyes were sunken. Stubble on his jaw. He dropped to his knees in front of me. The sound of his knees hitting stone was dull and heavy.
I was wrong. I know I was wrong.
He reached out to clutch at my legs. I stepped back, out of reach.
Ivy, please forgive me.
His voice was clogged with tears.
Cellier lied to me. She cleaned out my personal Alpha treasury and ran. She went to an old Alpha in another northern pack. He's 50. He's already buried 3 Lunars. She'd rather go there and be the next replacement than stay 1 more year with me. She never loved me. She was using me.
He was almost howling.
Ivy, only you were ever real with me. You loved me so much, you'd have died for me. Give me 1 more chance. I'll treat you like you're made of glass. I won't let you suffer a single thing.
I looked at him. My face was perfectly still.
Julian, you still don't get it, do you? You never loved me. You just loved the feeling of being loved by me without limits. You thought I'd never leave, so you hurt me without ever thinking twice. You only remember I was good to you now that you've lost everything.
I crouched so I was eye level with him, looked right into those bloodshot eyes. Every word a knife.
Too bad. Devotion that shows up too late is worth nothing. Rot in this suffocating pack house. Slowly.
Julian shook, head to foot. He looked up at me like he was watching his last shred of hope die. And at that moment, a black military-style SUV rolled to a stop outside the gate. Damien stepped out. Black Royal Academy uniform. The light was behind him. On his cuff, a silver badge. The one only the Alpha King's personal picks were allowed to wear. The sun caught on it and threw off a cold flash. He walked over to me and slid his arm around my waist. His eyes swept over Julian on the ground. Glacial.
Julian, you're in my future Luna's way.
You took everything from me!
He swung a fist. Julian looked up. He stared at Damien's arm around my waist.
Future Luna?
His lips were trembling. His voice was wrecked.
Ivy, you're going to form a mate bond with him?
Damien laughed and drew me a little closer.
What? Surprised? Father's already approved us. The moment Ivy finishes her first semester at the academy, we'll hold the formal marking ceremony.
Damien looked at Julian, mockery all the way through his eyes.
Julian, you didn't think you could throw away something priceless and have nobody pick it up, did you? Ivy is the best there is. You just didn't have the eyes to see it.
Something unhinged flashed in Julian's face. He pushed himself off the ground and threw himself at Damien.
Damien, you snake! You set me up! You took everything from me!
He swung a fist. 2 men in black caught him and forced him down before it connected. They weren't Thorn guards. They were in the Alpha King's personal guard uniform. The force they used to pin him was inhuman. Julian had alpha blood. He couldn't even struggle. His face was pressed into the ground, forced to look up at us.
Ivy, you can't form a mate bond with him. He's insane. He's been twisted since he was a kid. He doesn't know what love means. He's only doing this to get back at me. He took you to hurt me.
He was yelling. I looked down at him, cold.
Julian, you're wrong. Whether or not Damien is insane, I know that better than you do. At least he won't throw my dignity on the ground for another Omega.
I turned and opened the car door and got in the passenger seat. Damien went around and started the engine. The window slid down. I looked at Julian, pinned there.
Julian, enjoy your training. Good luck on next year's screening. I hope you do well.
The car pulled away. In the mirror, Julian was still kneeling in the dust we'd kicked up behind him. The pack house loomed huge in the sunset. I knew from today that house was a prison to him. He was never walking out of it again. The car was quiet. Damien drove one-handed. His other hand was holding mine. His palm was a little damp.
Ivy.
His voice was low.
Julian wasn't wrong. I am insane. I spent years envied how much of you he had. I went mad with it.
He turned his head and looked at me. The obsession was right there in his eyes.
If you want to back out, you still can. But if you get out of this car with me today, you're not getting away from me. Not for the rest of your life.
I closed my hand around his. Damien, I don't make decisions I regret. I picked you. That means forever. Damien slammed the brakes. The tires screeched. He leaned over, took my face in his hands, and kissed me hard. There was something wild in the kiss, almost destructive. He didn't pull back until I couldn't breathe. Then he buried his face in the curve of my neck.
Ivy, I finally have you.
September in the north. Crisp, clear. The new student check-in hall at the Alpha King's Royal Academy was packed. Young wolves from every major pack gathered in one place. The guards at the door weren't ordinary security. They were the Alpha King's personal guard. Tall, cold-eyed, every one of them an Alpha rank. I walked down the main path through campus on Damien's arm. Light filtered through the maple leaves onto us.
Nervous?
Damien was looking down at me, smiling. He'd swapped the black uniform for a gray nert today. The cruelty and cold he'd shown Julian were gone. I shook my head. No. Just feels unreal. In my previous life, I never even touched the academy's gate. Then pulled me into his arms and kissed me. I'd been trapped in the pack house and died in that silver pit. This time, I was finally here. I'd taken back everything that was mine. Damien pinched my cheek.
From now on, the only person allowed in your dreams is me.
We finished our check-in and were about to go find lunch. My phone rang. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. There was loud, dingy background noise on the other end. Some rundown bar.
Ivy.
Julian. His voice was rough. I stopped walking. My brows drew together. How did you get my new number? Julian let out a broken laugh.
I paid your mother for it. Ivy, I'm in so much pain.
He sounded drunk. His words were slurring.
Everybody at the training camp laughs at me. The Pack brothers look at me like a joke. I can't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see you the way you used to smile at me.
He was sobbing into the phone.
Ivy, I can't do this anymore.
Can you come see me?
Just once.
I listened to him beg. Julian, that's not my problem. Used to say everyone pays for their own choices, remember? Well, this is yours. I hung up and blocked the number. Damien stopped. His eyes darkened.
What did he want?
I slipped the phone into my pocket and smiled at him. Wrong number. Damien looked at me for a couple of seconds, then pulled me into his arms and kissed me on the mouth. Freshmen passing by turned to look, whistling good-hauntedly. I flushed and gave a small push at his chest. Damien, people are watching. He let me go. His thumb frushed the corner of my mouth.
Let them watch. I want this whole school to know you're mine.
He took my hand and laced our fingers.
Come on, let me take you to that barbecue place you love.
I watched his profile, and something settled in my chest. A kind of solid ground I'd never had before. Whether Julian lived or died had nothing to do with me anymore. My future was in my own hands, and in the hands of the man beside me. He apologized in a panic. Then he looked up, and we both. 4 years later, the Alpha King's annual gala was held at the Royal Court Hotel up north. As the fiancé of the current Thorn heir, the Alpha King's most trusted, Damien, I walked the red carpet on his arm in a silver gown. Flashbill.
Lord Damien, we've heard the formal marking ceremony between you and Ms. Ivy is scheduled for next month. Is it true?
Reporters surged, microphones in our faces. Damien tucked me against his chest and gave the cameras a smile.
It's true. Ivy is the only mate I will ever have. I'm giving her the grandest marking ceremony there is.
The hall erupted in applause. Flashbills washed over us. Halfway through the dinner, I slipped away to the restroom. I'd just finished washing my hands when, at a bend in the corridor, I ran into a janitor emptying a trash bin. His uniform didn't fit. He was hunched. His movements were slow.
Sorry.
He apologized in a panic. Then he looked up, and we both froze. It was Julian.
How are you? What are you doing here?
4 years had wrung every last bit of life out of him. Half his hair had gone white. When an alpha-blooded wolf suffers a long mental collapse and goes without proper training or real hunting, the bloodline starts to fail. The first sign is white hair deep lines had set into his face. The arrogance that used to live in his eyes was gone. All that was left was a dull fog.
Ivy.
The rag fell out of his hand. He stared at me, at my dress, at the moonlight diamond at my throat. That necklace was Damien's birthday gift to me last year. A single moonlight diamond worth 3 border ranches. The trash bin at Julian's feet gave off a sour, rotting smell. I saw the shame and pain flicker behind his eyes.
How are you? What are you doing here?
He's the Alpha King's most trusted now. And me?
He instinctively hid his grimy hands behind his back. I looked at him steadily. I came to the Alpha King's gala with Damien.
Julian had to lean against the wall to stay upright.
Damien.
He said the name like it tasted wrong. His mouth twisted into something uglier than crying.
Right. He's the Alpha King's most trusted now. And me? I couldn't handle the training camp, so I ran. Now I scrape trash out of bins.
He looked up suddenly. There was one last flicker of unwillingness in his eyes.
Ivy. If you hadn't chosen Damien back then.
If you had given the admission slot to Celeste.
The one standing next to you right now would be me. Wouldn't it?
I looked at him. It was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard. Julian, you're still blaming other people? You were the one who got arrogant. You took a winning hand and threw it away. You're here today because you put yourself here. I didn't bother with him anymore. I turned to go. Damien had appeared at the end of the corridor, without my noticing when. He crossed over, in long strides, and draped a shawl around my shoulders.
What took so long?
He didn't spare Julian a single glance. Ran into someone I used to know. Chatted for a minute. I took Damien's arm. Let's go home. Damien pressed a kiss to my forehead.
All right. Home.
We walked toward the main hall, side by side. Behind us, Julian was crying. Broken, hopeless sobs. He finally understood. In my previous life, he was the one who pushed me into the silver pit. This time, he was the one who pushed himself into this, a life dragging a trash bin from hallway to hallway. And me, I walked on toward the light ahead of me. I didn't look back.